What's up, my lovely people? Welcome to Anonymous Radio, where we dive deep into life, love, and relationships so that you can share, so you know that you're not alone, and so you can feel free to. Today, we're going to be talking about fighting and arguing and disagreeing and all those things that we like to pretend don't happen, but they do. So when's the last time you got into an argument with your significant other? What are you even arguing about? Intimacy, work and home life balance, the kids, infidelity? Okay, baby, we need some counseling. Or what about chores? What to eat, in-laws, money. Did I mention in-laws? Because that can be a pretty big headache right there. It's helpful to look at your fighting patterns in terms of quantity and quality. How much are you arguing? Are you guys fighting dirty, or are you genuinely voicing your concerns? If not, think about whether this is a game of who can win. In terms of quantity, if you're fighting every day, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that ain't healthy. And then as far as quality goes, how are you speaking to your significant other when you're fighting? Do you call your significant other out of their name? Do you bring up past instances which they've genuinely apologized for? And I'm not talking about no half-ass, I'm sorry to get you out of my face apology. I'm talking about a real, heartfelt apology that you went on to accept. Once you figure out quantity and quality and whether those things equal out to being a healthy relationship or not, because if it doesn't, then we need to figure out why we're in this relationship in the first place and if it warrants a breakup or some marriage counseling. Once you figure out these things, you can start working on disagreeing in a way that doesn't lead to a fight. So let's define fighting, because my definition of fighting is probably different than your definition of fighting. I think a fight is when a disagreement has just gone sour. It's no longer about finding a middle ground, and it's more about making sure that your significant other knows that you are right and they are wrong. Like, you won't even consider compromise because you're so sure that they're wrong in the situation, you won't even see their point of view. With a fight, it's about who's winning and who's losing, and possibly even hurting your significant other with words or actions to make sure that you're the one who stays on top. But are you really the winner? In battles like these, no one wins. I saw this quote: "Be careful with your words, for they can only be forgiven, not forgotten." So say you're in a fight with your significant other and you say some hurtful things. Later, you may be able to go and apologize for those things that you said. However, just because your significant other forgives you for what you say does not mean that they forget. I watched a TEDx about the argument-free marriage with Fawn Weaver, and she actually makes a great point which has definitely stuck with me. She says that when we're in an argument and we say things that are hurtful, we're making a terrible assumption that we can just go back whenever we want and apologize for those things that we said. These horrible assumptions have us thinking that we can just go back whenever we want and that person will be waiting for our apology. We assume that they'll be there on the other side of the door with open arms soon as we're ready, on our terms. But, that's not always the case. We don't always get to say, "I'm sorry." Sometimes we're a little too late. It's good to think about these things before you jump into an argument, because once you do, you'll be able to effectively communicate your feelings without it immediately diving into a fist fight. I mean, not saying that you and your significant other are boxing it out, but some of these fights be looking like that. So step 1 in disagreeing without fighting is to communicate your feelings. Have you ever been talking to someone and they said, "I feel this," or "I feel that"? I heard this so many times, and I finally started to use it myself, and you can really see a difference in how the person responds to you when you are saying, "I feel." These "I feel" statements change the focus from that person on to you, kind of. So instead of saying, you always do this or you never do that, you will say something like, I feel, fill in the blanks here. I feel sad when you tell little Johnny yes after you heard me tell him no, because then I lose my authority as a parent. Or I feel frustrated when you buy new shoes with the grocery money, because then I have to eat ramen noodles for lunch. So basically using I feel statements make a person less likely to feel attacked or criticized. They're less likely to be put on defense. Step 2 in disagreeing without fighting is to put yourself in your significant other's shoes. Think about why they're doing what they're doing. If your significant other keeps making excuses upon excuses as to why they cannot visit your family members, think about why they would say something like that. Have your family members been not so welcoming? Have they been throwing little jabs here and there? Thinking about why your significant other is doing whatever they're doing can help you to offer solutions. So many times we get stuck in the habit of just criticizing. You do this and you do that, and you just want to say everything that you've been thinking this whole time, instead of offering solutions. Because what is the end goal of this disagreement in the first place? If the end goal is to criticize them and make them feel like a horrible human being, then you've got it. But if the end goal is to come to a compromise and get to a point where you both can say, you know, I feel good about this, then we really need to try to understand where the other person is coming from. If your significant other is saying, no, I don't want you to buy video games this month, think about where they're coming from. Once you figure out the reasons behind their actions and their words, you can start to say, hey, I realize why you don't want me to buy those video games. I know we're supposed to be saving up for this trip to Hawaii, and I've been buying video games every month. Maybe I'll just rent a game next month instead of buying one this month. That was kind of like a weird little example, but I mean, hey, you get the gist of what I'm saying. If you've gone through step 1 and step 2 and you're still having this disagreement, there's something that you need to know that you don't know. So here's what you need to say. Tell me more. This is step 2 now. This is where you're supposed to be figuring out why your significant other is doing the thing that they're doing. You're putting yourself in their shoes. But how can you put yourself in their shoes if you don't even know what size they're wearing? Tell me more. That opens them up to communicating with you. They realize that you want to know what's going on with them. When they start to open up to you, you can start to put yourself in their shoes. That's why they said that to me. You can start to offer those solutions. Now you see both sides. Step 3 is to go to bed angry. We need to let go of that myth that we have heard for so long that you can't go to sleep angry. Neo has told us wrong, and he heard the myth, he made a whole song about it, but we're gonna say, forget you, forget that, forget the myth, go to bed angry. When you go to bed angry, you get a chance to relieve your mind, and you can revisit it at a later time when you guys aren't so heated. Later, when you've both calmed down, you probably realize that what you were disagreeing about isn't that big of a deal. And then, if it is, please revisit step 1 and step 2. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed those 3 steps to disagreeing without fighting, and let me know in the comments if you implemented any of these steps, if they have worked for you. If you're not already subscribed to Anonymous Radio, go ahead and do that now. You know you love me. Don't forget while you're doing that to follow me on social media, and I'll see you guys next time, Anon Nation.